Thank you so much for joining me here on LinkedIn Live. My name is Makita Waterman, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how to be successful. I wouldn't say beat out the competition, because when you come with confidence and self-awareness, there really is no competition in business meetings or job interviews. Everything really is about mindset and how you come across, not just the things you say, your tone of voice, your energy, your knowledge of the company, your knowledge of yourself, your knowledge of forecast for what's expected in your industry, etc. And so for everybody on the line that's watching this that is not in my connections or subscribing, this will end up on my YouTube channel. Subscribe today, follow today, connect today. We are going to get into it, and I'm not going to be giving you the cookie cutter stuff that you will mostly find on YouTube. I'm giving you personal things that have worked for me. I have been running my business for the past 9 years, started out as a freelancer, 2.5 years into doing that, full-time entrepreneur, business owner. I've hired people. I have done things on my own. I do consulting. I do strategy sessions. I've been in probably more interviews than most employees who stay with their company, with dozens, not even dozens, hundreds of different organizations over the past 9 years in different industries, different mindsets, from startups to small companies to marketing agencies. I can keep going. So I have a lot of experience with this topic today. So let's get into it. Why you might not be getting the job interviews, closing deals. Aside from mindset, I really think that it all comes down to communication. And when I say that, a decision maker, a recruiter, potential customer, potential client, they want to see quantitative and qualitative responses from you, especially if you know in this job market, this business market, depending on your industry and your situation, there are hundreds of people who are going at these RFP proposals for all my entrepreneurs on the line. And there are hundreds, maybe thousands of people trying to get a specific job based on what you're trying to do. So when I say qualitative and quantitative responses, I'm saying that, let's take, for example, an interviewer asks you, so tell me about the top 3 things that you can bring to the table to an organization, or the top 3 things that you're most proud of in your industry. A lot of people will give a blanket statement. I got this award, I was promoted this, da 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 da, and that's the end of it. Now let's really do some really specifics here. Let's get very granular and specific, because that's what's going to make you stand out, or at least shortlist you from hundreds of people. So let's start talking about numbers, statistics, or percentages, ratios. We really need to get granular here, even if you're just trying to get a customer service job. Ladies and gentlemen, when you're in an interview or a business meeting, these decision makers, entrepreneurs, stakeholders, CEOs, whoever it is that you're talking to, they don't just want the blanket answer. They might also be looking at you. Could they potentially be not just a great fit for now, not just the best service provider or product provider for now? They're looking at you like, can this person be good for us in the next year, 2, 3, 5 years? Can we see this person transition from a customer service rep to a customer service manager? This is just an example. So when you're going to these interviews, try to bring out any side of entrepreneurial mindset that you can bring, a leadership mindset, and be very specific. So here's a specific answer. Let's say you're in customer service and you give them a response such as, over the past 2 to 5 years of my career, I've closed 45% of sales and projects that have come in on my desk while I was on the phone as a customer service rep. The second thing I contribute is I'm an independent leader. I go into meetings and I come up with operational improvement ideas that get implemented 50% of the time. The third thing that I bring to the organization, or I've accomplished, is being able to be a self-starter. In the first 90 days when I start, most managers don't need to micromanage me. My shoes are on the floor like Michael Jordan, and I'm doing whatever response based on your personality. You need to get very specific and granular. Remember, this is a competitive job market. So a lot of people are trying to get your job. There are even jobs that are not even on the internet. Why? Because individuals like yourself, or if you're trying to get to that level, They are usually called on by recruiters and decision makers, entrepreneurs and executives, because they don't need to put that job offer on the internet. They don't have to put the opportunity on the internet, because there's always a ton of people, or a few people that decision makers know that they can go to before they even publicize an opportunity. So let's think of it high level like that. Confidence, enthusiasm. When you go into these interviews, a lot of these interviewers are burnt out. Trust me. I've had conversations with companies over the past 5 months, going on, 5 months this year. And many of them tell me, whether they're recruiters that want to headhunt me for opportunities, CEOs, executives, stakeholders, or decision makers, a lot of them look burnt out. A lot of them are tired because they also are interviewing hundreds of people every week, every month, maybe every day, and they're tired. So the thing that will make you stand out over the person before you and the many after you is how you come across. So I can't speak for you, but when I do my business meetings, I make sure I meditate for 20 minutes in the morning. I get my organic smoothie drink. I have all the best papayas, fruits, everything I make sure I put in there. If I need to take a walk, I will take a 10 to 30-minute walk around my neighborhood. Or if it's maybe later on in the afternoon, I'll go to my favorite park, walk for an hour or two, and I come home. I'm feeling refreshed. I feel good. It's all about feeling good before you go into these interviews. And I know that could be difficult because many of you on the line or will be watching this might be going through lots of interviews every day, every week, and you're burnt out too. I totally get it. But that fresh perspective of you're actually excited to talk to them, not a level of desperation, but a level of confidence and happiness and gratitude, that level of energy, whether you're in person or on a video chat, chatting with somebody for an opportunity, will go a long way. Now, everybody says research the company, but it's time to research the company and personalize your responses. You can research a company just like maybe 60% of the people who are going for the same bid, all my entrepreneurs, the same job, all the employees on the line, and you can sound like everybody else. Oh yeah, I found out that your company just got the 20 best employers in Canada, the 20 best employers in my country, and that's why I want to work for you. That's why I want to be a service provider and go business to business with you. But that's not it. We need to go next level because not a lot of people are going to be next level. So we need to personalize your response. I personally, when a decision maker, a potential client asks me, why do you want a service? Why do you want to bring services to your company? What makes you the best service provider? I get very personal about it. And yes, I do my best not to find what's on their website. I do my best to do a scan of social medias if it's a super huge company, and I do my best to do at least a Google News review. I will always choose the achievements and the recognition that sits well with me. So if they donated to a certain country or a certain non-for-profit organization, or I'll even go more deep and I will do a search on the CEO of the company, because let's take it next level here, right? So I'll check out the CEO, I'll check out the story, how they started their startup, how they started their company, and then I will give an answer that goes something close to what I've experienced, what I appreciate, what I believe in. For example, I was doing an interview with this company, I'd say about 2 months ago, and I had a response based on the CEO's story, how that the company started the business in the first beginning of the recession, during a time where a lot of companies were really negatively impacted, and they were able to acquire that company and build revenue up by 60%. So I was very specific with percentages. When the startup founder started this company, I came through as if I knew the CEO, and not with actress skills. I'm not an actress. It's just what resonates with me, because I know they're going to ask me, what do you know about our organization? What do you know about our startup? What do you know about our company? So I'm always doing research based on what sits in my heart that I feel really inspired by. And that's the answer I'll always give. I'll never give a generic answer, because that's what most people are doing these days. Now, mindset tips. Back in the day, because I do so many chats with different companies, I think what I used to do back in the day is I would do a YouTube search on my favorite motivational speakers, which are Anthony Robbins, aka Tony Robbins, Barack Obama. These two I usually leaned on, and what I do is maybe 30 minutes before the interview, I would watch YouTube videos of Tony Robbins speaking on stage, Barack Obama speaking on stage, and I would just, I cannot explain it. Maybe somebody's very spiritual or there's a biological explanation for this, but when I watched Tony Robbins and Barack Obama on stage, something hit me of, I was confident that day, but then I was even more confident. I was enthusiastic about the chat, but I was even more enthusiastic. And I always remembered how they started, especially Tony Robbins. For all my Tony Robbins fans on the line, he didn't start off with a silver spoon in his mouth. I think he was homeless at some point. And look at him now. Everybody in the motivational, anybody who's trying to level up, knows Tony Robbins because he's obviously been at it for decades, but that doesn't mean that he's successful. So I kind of try to consume some great speakers and not necessarily try to speak like them. It's just a motivational thing. I'm a visual learner most of the time, and it helps me out. One thing my mindset coach has taught me, if you really, really want an opportunity, does not mean you're always going to get it, but this is the attitude you kind of have to come in before you turn on that video and start this video chat, or you walk into that room and start the interview. But he always says, if this is what you really want, if this opportunity is what you really want, it has to consciously be in your brain that you have it. Even if a headhunter, for example, or the decision maker before chatting with you explain to you that you're not the only person they're interviewing, that doesn't matter. That you really have to, I cannot explain how you can get over this if this is something that is disabling your ability to feel like you've got this. But you have to put that, it doesn't matter if there are tens and thousands of people interviewing for the same bid, interviewing for the same opportunity, you're it. And that's the mindset that you have to kind of develop, I would say days before the interview, days before the business chat. And then your personality. You know, I remember back in the day when I was in the employee quadrant, I went for this kind of government city interview, and I was really nervous. I really put that organization on a pedestal thinking they were better than me. And this was probably 6 or 7 years ago. And they could tell that I was clearly a fit for the opportunity, but I was nervous. And the first thing the interviewer said to me is, relax, take a deep breath. We're just having a formal interview. And looking back, I wish that the mindset I have now, I had back then, because no organization is better than you. Yeah, maybe they're in the billions, maybe they're trillions, maybe you're interviewing for a government opportunity, a city opportunity. It doesn't matter. Don't ever put an organization, a company on a pedestal, even if you are interviewing for Microsoft, Google, Apple. Yes, these are great big companies. I think they call them like the big five: Apple, Google, Amazon, etc. They call them the big fives because these are big, great companies. Even if you have an interview with one of these big fives, never put them on a pedestal. And I know it's hard to do. Even if you're interviewing with the CEO, even if Jeff Bezos ends up on the line, and I'm sure, you know, this can happen sometimes. Sometimes they say, okay, we're going to have you speak with the chief marketing officer or the CEO. And you're like, oh no, I'm going to speak to the person that built this brand, you know, and then the nerves start coming in and you start feeling like you're not good enough. And the imposter syndrome starts creeping in. And then you're in this interview. Well, you know, you're fully qualified for it. And now you're like acting nervous. And I didn't get that opportunity back then, and I wouldn't hire me either. I was too nervous, and it was totally unnecessary. Nobody's better than you. Even if they have a net worth higher than you and you're sitting down with them at the Starbucks for coffee to talk about an opportunity, they're human. They have fears, they have doubts, they have insecurities too. But the mindset thing is what separates a CEO or whatever from anybody who's not at an executive level. It's just the mindset. They drink and they go through things just like everybody else. So you just have to kind of keep that in mind. These are just human beings that are just trying to find somebody for an opportunity, trying to find a service provider, or a product provider, or whatever, a vendor, a supplier. That's it. It's nothing more than just a conversation. My mindset coach says, it's just a conversation. No need to be nervous, right? So when you come with that, this is just a conversation. Whether they're saying, oh, you don't have to be too professional, it's just formal. It's everything is just a conversation. So what decision makers want in these days and times when some industries are very uncertain, anything can happen tomorrow. I truly believe that majority of the time, decision makers are looking for people who are leaders. And if you're not a leader, somebody who is self-motivated, you're looking for candidates with even entrepreneurial skills. It doesn't mean that you've had to own a business back in the day, or you currently side hustle a company back in the day, but they're looking for people that can come in first 90 days, like I said before, the metaphor of being like Michael Jordan, putting on his running shoes and running and just being a high performer. They're looking for high performers. On that note, they are looking for people who don't need to be managed. Even if you get in there and you end up being micromanaged, because every manager, every supervisor, team lead is different, they are looking for somebody who can work under a little bit of supervision. And that's not to say the first 90 days. Obviously, in some instances, there will be learning curves, but they're looking for somebody who can come in with fresh ideas, a great attitude, open-minded, doesn't take constructive criticism personally, drama-free. And trust me, if they have HR in the room, they're going to be able to discern whether you're drama-free or not. You know, I'm pretty confident that human resources that sit in these interviews, they might have, I don't know if they study psychology, but they just really want people to come in and really add value, even if there's a learning curve, even if you have to go through training for the first 90 days, they just really want a really great person. And even if you don't think you're great, if you don't think you're the MVP, the Michael Jordan of your industry, of your last company, your current company, they just want to see if you're coachable, if you come to meetings and be able to come up with ideas or ask questions, or at least speak up instead of sitting on the sidelines, with a lot of people do in meetings and not say anything. But then the high performers are coming with ideas, bringing out their laptop, all these spreadsheets, and you're just sitting there like, oh no, I wish I came with that perspective. These are the type of people. Why is the question now? Why do they want high performers or people who have the potential to be trained? Because they're coachable. Because, I mean, we all know high performers equals high work productivity equals high revenue, less losses, etc. And so they are also, they're looking for self-starters, leaders, people who have an entrepreneurial mindset, etc. People who have personality, people who, if something is being said in an interview, in a job meeting, I guess you could say, like a meeting with you and your team, and something doesn't seem right, they're hoping that one person in the room can say, I don't think that's going to work. Even if they don't implement your idea, they're looking for people who can come and take a step back and say, hey, this business model isn't working, everybody, or this new product that we just launched, it's just not really helping the bottom line of our organization. Here's an alternative idea, so that there's some perspective on that. And then the last part is being able to communicate your value, which I really think goes back to the quantitative and the quality responses in your answers. Now, it doesn't have to necessarily be like that for every conversation, but let's say a potential client or customer or potential employer asks you, tell me about yourself outside of work, tell me about yourself. I think I shared a post like this not too long ago. I think that a lot of people want to think about the most professional thing. Well, I love golfing, or I brought my children to Disney World this summer, or yada, yada, yada. Like everybody, most people want to give that professional, squeaky clean response versus, hey, my grandmother got sick actually, and she's living with me and I'm taking care of my grandmother and I feel overwhelmed at times, but I also feel proud that I am the person in the family that can support my grandmother. They are looking for real responses, not, you know, anything dramatic or anything that you don't want them to know about you, but they're looking for a real, organic, personalized response that doesn't sound like everybody else. And I do strongly believe that if everybody looked at a business meeting and an interview as just a conversation, and even though I didn't write this on my notepad, I want to tell you this: you are valuable. So when you go into a meeting or an interview, you have to understand you are chosen for a reason, whether you get it or not. I have this book and I'm reading it. It's a marketing book about the marketing strategies of the top 5, which include the Facebook, the Googles, the Amazons, Apple, etc. And there's this page that actually says that for every employee, the revenue and the work productivity, let's say, that every employee does for an organization is in the millions. So not to look at yourself as a commodity, like you're a gold or silver or a diamond or something like that. That's not what I'm talking about. You being in an organization brings them millions of dollars. Like, just think about that. So this is not to get, over yourself or start getting big headed. This is just a reality, right? So you're bringing your value, your ideas, your skills and your talents to an organization. You're getting, I don't know how much anybody on this line makes, but they're making $1 million or more off of your work productivity. That's a lot of value. So when you're going into these interviews, I'm not saying be condescending, oh, I'm better than this person. No, that's not the attitude that anybody wants to work with, let alone bring into their organization, startup company, etc. This is knowing that you're special, you're bringing some very unique talents, whether it's your personal culture, in addition to your skills, your personality, your optimistic mindset. Maybe you're bringing in prospects with them. Maybe you're in sales and you're bringing a book of potential clients. So you have to look at yourself as just being as valuable as the organization or that proposal opportunity, or all my entrepreneurs on the line, or that client that you really, really want. And the last thing I'm going to say is you need to be selective, because it's very, very easy that if you lose your job, if you leave a company, maybe you lose a contract with the company, all my entrepreneurs on the line, it's very easy to have this air of desperation. What are you going to do? How are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to put food on the table? Your children. I get it. It can be very scary, especially in an uncertain time where they're not really saying whether it's a depression or a recession, right? But you have to also keep in mind that your time is valuable. So when you're out there, all my job seekers on the line, and you're picking and choosing, which you have to have this level of confidence within yourself to not go crazy on these job interviews, meaning you're just going to put your resume anywhere. Be specific, know what it is that you want. Be specific about the values within yourself, your ethics, your morals as a human being, and ask yourself, if I submit my information, my proposal, my resume to this company, do they meet my values? Because this is why I think personally, one reason why I think personally people get burnt out in the job search phase is because they're just applying to anything. And if you just apply to anything versus maybe instead of 100 opportunities a day or 50 opportunities a day, you're going to say, I'm going to bring it down to 25 because these 25 organizations I believe in. Some of these organizations I buy food from, or I buy makeup from, I buy my clothes from, I buy my technology from this particular brand. So I'm going to go for that versus I'm just going to put my portfolio anywhere. I'm just going to submit for every contract opportunity, every client, every customer. And that's clearly up to you, because when you get very specific about which companies you want to work for, remember, many employees spend between 40 to 60 hours a week dedicating their time, their talent, their skills, as we mentioned before, to these companies. So why would you just want to work for any company just to get a paycheck? I don't know. I value my time. I'm very specific about the organizations I want to work with. If I don't believe in it, I'm not submitting my portfolio. That's just where I'm at in life, because back in the day when I didn't know any better, I'd submit my portfolio with a lack mindset, not abundance, get in the door, and I'm like, why am I here? And then you're stuck for a year or 2 or 3 or 4, and you're like, why am I here, right? So you have to ask yourself, do you want to submit your job, your resume to companies where you're going to get in and you're saying, why am I here? Or are you going to submit your information to a company that says, I'm proud to be here. I feel great every morning when I wake up to walk into this company, to open my laptop and log in. I'm happy to be here. This is my life purpose, right? And sometimes you just have to take those opportunities, like, why am I here, to get to the opportunities where you're jumping out of bed excited to start your laptop and log in, or get in your car and drive to work. But if you can, be very selective with who you even interview with. If you get an interview invite, maybe you didn't do too much research during the submission process, you do some research and the CEO did something and you're like, wait a minute now, I don't want to be aligned with that just for a paycheck. Like, if you're at that stage in your life, because not everybody can be selective, it comes down to mindset, finances, etc. But if you're at that stage where, if the CEO aligns with me, if I look back and there's nothing that just looks sketchy, I'm going to go 100% on this resume, update it, fix it, hire somebody to rewrite it, and I'm going for that. That is also a better mindset, because you won't feel burnt out. You won't be going on massive numbers of job interviews or business meetings feeling like, why isn't this working out? It's probably not working out because you are just finding that you're just submitting yourself to opportunities just so that you can pay the bills. But that's it in a nutshell. I know I'm very, very passionate about being able to communicate effectively, because I think that if you weren't born in a home, for myself, I was born in a home where my mom and dad were very, very great communicators. I was able to speak to my mom and dad, and still am, about anything I want. And you know, they have their perspective on things, and so do I, but I grew up in a household where my parents were very granular and specific, and they challenged me and my siblings to give better answers sometimes. And when I look back, I'm like, Dad, wow, Dad was a little tough on me, or man, they really challenge me sometimes. And when you're young, you're telling yourself, why is my mom challenging me with these questions? Why is my dad? But when you get older, it totally makes sense, like, because your brain starts challenging yourself sometimes, or respectively challenging others, and asking questions and not being afraid to speak up, or not being afraid to ask, well, why do you do this when here's another opportunity? And if you weren't born in that kind of household where you had a lot of communication at the dinner table and all this other kind of stuff, you can always develop your communication skills. But at the end of the day, like my mindset coach says, every business meeting I do, it's just a conversation. Even coming back and saying, hey, I thought it was this, but now it's this. What do you think we can do here? It's just a conversation. That's all interviews are. And if we can really get to that place where we don't make the interview more than what it really is, we don't make the interviewer or the company more than us, and we're just meeting, like we're just meeting a friend at a coffee shop, then everything, I think all the nerves and stuff like that a lot of people experiencing during these meetups or conversations will totally disappear with time. But if you have any ideas to add to this conversation, please leave them below. Everybody watching now or watching after, watching the replay, I really hope that all of you are doing well. I know it's an uncertain time, but you know, whether you get an opportunity or not, just feel grateful that you were even selected. Because whether you ask the decision maker, employer, headhunter, recruiter, etc., or not, there are a lot of people applying for work right now, depending on what it is that you do. And even to get just a first interview, second, third, fourth, 20, I don't know that there's even a 20, but just to be able to get it, just feel grateful that you're actually being selected. So thank you so much for your time. If you have any upcoming live stream LinkedIn ideas, please let me know and I'll do my best to see if it will add value to everybody on the line. Take care of yourself. Bye.